Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to look at the contribution that large-scale organisations make to the Australian economy. And firstly, it's a significant contribution that they make, and what we need to look at is both the positive and negative contributions that they make to the Australian economy. Before we go into those positives and negatives, it's important that you understand that what we're really looking at here is the unique contribution that they make to the Australian economy. So because every organisation, whether it be small, medium or large, makes both a positive and negative contribution to the economy, and what we're looking at here is, alright, well, what do large ones, what's unique about the contribution that large organisations make? So we'll get into that now, and we'll have a look at the positive ones first. So the first one is employment, and large organisations employ a significant number of Australians, and they provide employment for approximately 33% of the private sector. Now, remember that all organisations, whether they be small, medium or large, provide employment for Australians. But it's large organisations, because they've got minimum 200 employees, they're providing a significant amount of employees. So that's a significant contribution that they're making. I mean, some organisations are providing tens of thousands of Australians with employment. Now, what's the actual positive impact for the economy? Well, increased employment, if you look at the top of that chart there, that gives people increased disposable income, and when people have more income, what do they do with it? They spend it. So money is spent at local businesses, and then those businesses become busier and they need to keep up with demand. So in order to do that, they need to employ more people, which then increases employment, and this cycle continues. So the actual impact, positive impact of providing a significant number of Australians with employment is it gives them disposable income, which helps stimulate the economy because it's spent locally. Some more positive contributions is that they contribute to infrastructure growth. So if a large organisation moves into an area, whether that be a new or an existing area, the government might help provide roads, power, schools and hospitals, etc. Into new areas, or into, if it's moving into an existing area, that kind of infrastructure may be improved and upgraded. Large organisations have a significant impact on GDP, which is gross domestic product, and GDP is the monetary value of all goods and services created in Australia, and that's how we measure economic growth. And what that does is, because they're producing in large amounts, large quantities, that helps stimulate the economy and ensures that the Australian economy is growing. They also contribute to balance of payments in a significant manner, because what can happen is they can export a large amount of goods and services overseas, and that earns foreign income into Australia, and that helps. So what we're trying to do is increase our exports and have more exports than we do imports. That means that money is flowing into Australia, and that helps to improve Australia's wealth. Some more positives is research and development. They really contribute to research and development simply because research and development is expensive, and large organisations normally have larger budgets to spend on research and development, and that can help create new products. So it could be, it could be any type of product, but medicines and things like that. But it also helps might find new ways of actually producing things, and those methods can then flow out throughout the entire industry to some of the smaller organisations. So it helps them improve their processes as well. Significant tax revenue. Large organisations, because of their higher income and profits, they normally pay more tax, which that tax should be used by the government on services for the community, and that can also help create jobs for the community. Now onto the negative contributions. So I've got downsizing and outsourcing, and I've grouped them together. They are different things though. I'll explain why I've grouped them together, but firstly, downsizing is when a large or an organisation reduces its workers, so it's actually cutting workers from its workforce. Now, the negative is that large organisations normally do that in large numbers. Because they're employing so many people, when they cut workers, they normally do so in a large amount, and that gives people less income, which can then slow the economy because they have less disposable income to spend locally. Now, outsourcing is where they take a part of their organisation and give it and get another organisation to do that. And if they do outsource to overseas, whether that be manufacturing overseas or whatever it may be, that can cause job losses for Australians. So although those two are different and it's a different negative contribution, the actual contribution to the economy is the same. So downsizing, loss of workers; outsourcing, loss of workers. So a lot of students get caught up with that, and if you can do it separately, but they really struggle to do so. So I always encourage my students to just don't use downsizing and outsourcing, just use one or the other if you're asked for one or more, or for more than one particular negative contribution, because the negative contribution is the same. So damage to the environment is another one, and large organisations through large factories or even large offices normally have a larger carbon footprint, and what the actual negative contribution to the economy is, it's the cost of cleanup that the government has to spend. So they then have less money to spend elsewhere on those social projects. Market domination is a really common one in answers, and that is where obviously a large organisation is trying to dominate a market, and that can lead to predatory pricing, which is reducing, cutting prices to really low levels to try and reduce the competition. That makes it more difficult for smaller businesses to survive and reduces the amount of competition in the market, which is not good for the consumer. Some more negatives: cost of supplying infrastructure. And what this is because of the large cost of providing infrastructure, which was one of the positives, it may mean that some social programs are being underfunded. And finally, this one isn't used too often in answers, but sourcing materials offshore, so that although materials may be cheaper offshore, so overseas, it means money is going out of the country rather than staying local if you were using local suppliers to supply you with materials for your products. So they're the positive and negative contributions. So just to recap, the positives that we went through: significant employment, infrastructure growth, significant GDP, significant contribution to balance of payments. They have large budgets for research and development, and significant tax revenue. And the negatives: downsizing and outsourcing. Remember, they are different things, but the impact on the economy is often the same. Damage to the environment, and it's the cost of cleanup there. So predatory pricing through market domination, and the cost of infrastructure and sourcing materials overseas. So for questions, activities and more on today's topic of large-scale organisations and their contribution to the economy, then come on over to teachingbubble.com.